So a lot of times we use scientific notation to just simplify the way of writing really big numbers or really small numbers because it can be cumbersome to write some of these big numbers. So for instance, if you were going to write the approximate population of the world, the population of the world is about 7.5 billion people. So how would we write that just writing the number out? It would be 7,500. That would be the number, right? And if you had to write big numbers all the time, that would be a little bit not fun to do, writing all those zeros on there. So scientific notation is just a simpler way to write these numbers. And it does so by just telling you where the decimal point is on a given number. So what we're going to do is convert this number into scientific notation. The first thing you have to do is find where the decimal point is. And the decimal point in this case would be way out here to the right. And then we're going to move that decimal point over a couple of spots. Okay, we'll do it like by writing that in. And let me get a different color so we can see the movement. And we're going to count how many spots we're going to move it. We're going to move it all the way to here. Okay, you can move it anywhere you want, but we're going to move it to here for our scientific. So between the 7 and the 5. So how many spots do we have to move? And we're going to count those spots that we're going to move the decimal point to get it there. And we're going to move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 spots. We're going to move it 9 spots over. And we're going to rewrite this number in scientific notation. So to rewrite this number in scientific notation, using that information, we put the decimal point between the 7 and the 5 in this case. So that's where I'm going to write. So I put the decimal point there. And then I'm going to tell you I moved it 9 spots in writing this number. So we write the number times 10 raised to the number of spots to move it. And that's 9. So that's the scientific. This number is the exact same as that number. It tells us we moved the decimal points 9 spaces to the left to make this number. Okay? So if you're given scientific notation and I tell you that the number is 1.3 times 10 to the 4th, it tells you I moved the number the decimal point 4 spots over. Okay? So to convert this into a regular number, I just write 1, 3, and then I know the decimal point was right here. I'm going to change the color here of the pen. I know the decimal point was right here to begin with, but I'm going to move it over 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me just put zeros in and that would be the number in non-scientific notation. Let me rewrite that. It would be 13000 would be the number, or 13,000. So 13,000 written in scientific notation is 1.3 times 10 to the 4th. Okay? I wonder if it's a really small number. Let's write a really small number. Maybe we're measuring the size of a cell. Okay, we take our ruler out, although we can't use a ruler to do this, but let's say you take your ruler out and you're measuring the size of the cell, and your ruler is in, what is it in? Centimeters, millimeters, that kind of stuff. It would be about a meter is about the size of a yardstick. So a cell would be maybe it's about that size in meters. So really, really small is what that is. But wow, that's just cumbersome to write it that way. So let's use our scientific notation to write this number in scientific notation. So let's count over how many spots we want to move it. And again, you can move it over as many spots as you want. You just write the number that's left. I'm going to make this number a 5. I could make it 0.5, but I'm going to make it 5. So I'm going to move my decimal point to right there, where that red dot is. That's where I'm going to get it to. I'm going to count how many spots I got to move it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 spots I got to move it. So to write this number in scientific notation, if I move it 10 spots, the number is 5 with a decimal point, but I don't have to put a decimal point next to the 5 if I don't want to. 5 times 10 to the 10th. Now, here we're going to put not 10 in, but negative 10, because we moved the decimal point 10 spot the other way. When you see a negative number in scientific notation in this spot, in the superscript next to the big number 10, when you see the negative in there, it means it's a really small number, is the way I like to think about it. If I see a positive number there, like 10, it means it's a really big number. So in this case, it tells me it's a really small number, and I can make the small number by moving the decimal point 10 spots. And you just move the decimal point in a direction that makes the number really, really small. In this case, when you see the negative, you move it to the decimal point to the left. So let's give that a try. Let's say we have the number 4.7 times 10 to the negative 6. Okay? So to do that, I know it's going to be a small number, so I'm going to put my 4.6 way over here. And I'm going to move that number 6 spots to the left because it's negative. If I move it 6 spots to the right, the number becomes very big. I know this is a small number because of the negative value. So let's move it 6 spots. Let me change the color of my pen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. My decimal point will be right there. Oh my gosh. And I put zeros in all the spots next to it. Okay, so that would be the number in the actual number written out as opposed to scientific notation. It would be, I don't like all those little lines down there, so I'll just rewrite this number as 0 point. Then there's 5 zeros, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 4, 6 would be the number. So that's how you convert from scientific notation back to a regular number, or a regular number into scientific notation. So scientific notation, again, is just an easier way to write a very big number or a very small number. Instead of writing out that huge number with all the zeros in it, you can just write it in a condensed form like that, or what we saw on the previous page. So here's a couple for you to try. On the first one, write that number in scientific notation. On the second one, you can convert that one into the regular number, the actual number. So pause the video, give those a try, and then we'll come back and answer them. Okay, so for the first one, we're going to write it in scientific notation. Find the decimal point first. The decimal point is right out here, and I'm going to move the decimal point over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Move it over 7 spots. And when I do that, I can then rewrite the number. The decimal point will now be between, after I move it 7 spots, between the two 4s. So it'll be 4.48 times 10. And then how many spots did I move it? I moved it 7 spots over. It's a positive 7 because it's a big number, so I leave it positive. You could also have moved it over just 6 spots. If you moved it over 6 spots only, you would have gotten 44.8 times 10 to the 6th. So that would be fine as well, because I only moved it over 6 spots. If I moved it over 5 spots, it would be 448 times 10 to the 5th. So this number, this number, this number, and this number all represent the same thing. So there's multiple ways to do scientific notation. And so when you're answering questions on that, if you do it one way and it's not giving you the answer you want, try moving the number of the decimal point over a different number of numbers, and you'll eventually figure it out. So let's go to the second one here. On this one, I'm going to try to write the regular number. So I'm going to write in my 3.1, and now I'm going to move it 3 spots. Because it's a positive 3, I know it's a big number, so I'm going to move it to the right. And I move it 3 spots over. So it was right there. That's 1, 2, and 3. So I'll put 2 zeros in there. So that's my new number. It is 3,100. I can put a comma in there because it's in thousands. But it's 3,100 is what that number is. If you write it in scientific notation, you'll get that number.